From Nashville, Tennessee, Music City, USA, and the home of hot chicken, it's the Rick Altizer Show. Sit back, buckle up. Rick will talk with the movers, shakers, and creators who put Christ in Christian entertainment. He's a man who's clear so the world can hear. Here's Rick Altizer.
Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you, Bob Allen, for that wonderful introduction. I am Rick Altizer, the host of The Rick Altizer Show. And my guest today is songwriter, author, speaker, and founder and director of Music for the Soul, Steve Siler. Steve, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Rick.
It's my pleasure. Now, for those of you who are my regular listeners, you will recognize Steve. Steve has been on the show before, and we've talked previously. We've talked about, his career as a songwriter, a staff songwriter. He's had the Inspirational Song of the Year, the Dove Inspirational Song of the Year. He's had 500 songs recorded, 9 number one CCM songs, 46 top 10 singles. But who's counting?
You are.
Oh, I guess I am. That would be me. But we did talk in our previous interviews. We talked about the staff writing industry, writing as a songwriter, what is the worth and value of music. Mm-hmm. We had 2 programs on that, and then his transition into being the director and founder of Music for the Soul. So you can get those previous interviews by going to my website, rickaltizer.com. That's RICKALTIZER.com, and you can hear those shows. So I highly recommend you listen to those, especially if you're interested in being a songwriter. Steve, the reason Steve is here today is his ministry has a new project, a new audio music project called Mercy Great Enough, Finding Hope After Abortion. And so we're going to do 2 shows on this project. In the project, he talks to men, and he also talks to women. So, Steve, first off, tell us a little bit about Music for the Soul and what the purpose and function of the ministry is.
Music for the Soul exists to bring the compassion of Christ to people who are in deep pain on a whole host of issues. And we do that through songs and stories and videos. And our goal is pretty simple. We want people to know that no matter what they're going through, they are not alone. God understands, other people understand, and even though they may feel like no one has ever been as guilt-ridden or as, dirty or should be as ashamed as they are, the truth is that we all have hidden pain and that Christ is there to heal each and every one of us and bring us into the light. And
you make projects that are topic-based. Give me some ideas of some of the projects that you've done.
Well, we've done Somebody's Daughter on the issue of pornography abuse. We've done Chaos of the Heart for people grieving a suicide. Tell Me What You See for young women struggling with eating disorders and body image issues. That's just 3 of our dozen projects. But basically, if people have a hard time talking about it, especially in the church, we sing about it.
And what is the value of song for these issues? Why is that so powerful?
Well, I think everybody knows that music touches a different place in us. People talk about a song reaching both mind and heart, and that's always been sort of a colloquial saying, but it turns out there's brain science that supports that, because a song with lyric speaks to the left hemisphere of the brain where language is processed, and with melody speaks to the right hemisphere of the brain where music is processed in melody and rhythm. And also trauma, it turns out, is stored in the right hemisphere of the brain. So a melody accesses that deep hurting place in us, opens us up, and then we can lay that message of healing in there. And because melody and rhythm are memory devices, if we sing to somebody about something, it has a much better chance of the message staying with them.
So talking about an emotional trauma, someone who's been through an emotional trauma, let's now talk about abortion. Mm-hmm. And for those listening, if you, male or female, if you have had an abortion or supported a girlfriend who had an abortion, or if you know someone who's struggling with this, I highly recommend you. This is going to be posted on my website. Get this show to them, and we're going to talk about the album Mercy Great Enough, Finding Hope After Abortion. But Steve, talk to me about this issue and why you thought this was something that was important enough to make a project about.
Well, several years ago, I was in Minnesota doing a concert on an album we did on the life of David. And while I was up there, I met a woman who had a ministry And her entire ministry was a prayer ministry to people carrying guilt and shame over an abortion in their past. That's all she did, was go and pray with those folks. And this was news to me. I had never heard of anything like that before. And I was kind of surprised to think that there would be enough Christians in one town that somebody could have their full-time job be going to pray with these folks. So that was the first thing that kind of piqued my interest. And after meeting with her, I went home and I did what songwriters do. I processed my meeting with her by writing a song, which appears on this record. It's a song called We Forgive You, and it's sung from the first person of Christ. And so that was the first introduction to the topic. And so kind of in the back of my mind, I sort of tucked it away. Someday I want to do something more on this. And as you might suspect, in the process of growing this ministry, I meet and talk with Christian counselors all over the country. And this one gentleman in Oregon contacted me and said that his entire ministry was with men who had guilt and shame over an abortion in their past. And he literally pleaded with me, will you please make one of your next projects a project on the issue of abortion? And when you do, will you please remember the men? Because nobody ever talks about the men. And so, I mean, that kind of passion always gets my attention. And I think one of the things that I'm happy about with Music for the Soul is our recordings do serve the underserved by talking about the things that people don't generally find comfortable to discuss. So anyway, I thought, well, I'm gonna get some information from this man. So I talked with him at length about this over the next couple of years. And he said something to me that I just thought was incredible. He said in the entire time he'd been counseling men with an abortion in their past, he had never had a man confess that and be able to look him in the eye at the same time. He said they always look at the floor. Always. And he said that he had counseled men over the issue of pornography abuse and other issues of shame, but there was no issue, none whatsoever, that cut as deep as an abortion in a man's past. And he said that the reason he believed that was that it was a double failure. And by that he meant it was a failure of the man to do right by the woman, and it was a failure of the man to be there for his child. And that when that weight finally settled in on a man, that it was a very, very heavy burden.
Oh, well, what I want to do right now, because the best way to explain this project is to let people hear some of these songs.
Sure.
We're going to go ahead and play a song from Mercy Great Enough, Finding Hope After Abortion. And you can find information about this CD by going to musicforthesoul.org. musicforthesoul.org.
You're listening to the Rick Altizer Show on Bot Radio 89.1 FM, 1160 AM, Nashville.
And Steve, will you go ahead and introduce this first song we're going to play?
Sure. I actually sort of just did. This song is called I Wasn't There. And it is the song that directly addresses the issue of not having been there for the woman or the child. And it's sung in the first person of the man who is finally coming to terms with that.
A man protects, a man provides, a man stands tall and does what's right. That's why I feel this guilt inside. I can't seem to look you in the eye. You needed me, our child did too, and it's painful to admit the truth. I wasn't there for you. I wasn't there for you. The words come slow, there's so much shame from this failure that there's no way to heal till I speak out loud the things I feel. You needed me, I tried it too, and it's painful to admit the truth. I wasn't there for you. I wasn't there for you. If I know then what I know now, we could have made it work somehow. You needed me, I tried it too, and it's painful to admit the truth. I wasn't there for you. I wasn't there.
Wow, what a powerful, powerful song. Now, in the process, I wasn't there for you. In the process of your talk about the project, kind of emotionally how you move through the project, because this is kind of down. This is wow. This is and for those listening, I got to warn you. There's probably going to be some tears as you're listening to these songs. They really do communicate emotionally. They hit at a level that words just don't do.
Yes. It's interesting, though, because I have songs on these projects. Naturally, we have songs that I feel are very, very sad. But so many times I hear from people saying that it was during one of these sad songs that they could feel the burden begin to lift because they could see themselves, they could hear their story in the song, and that there was comfort in that because they felt understood and they felt recognized and seen. And so in that process, that sense of aloneness, that sense of imprisonment begins to lift away. So, yes, there are happier songs toward the end, and we'll play one of those in a minute. But, I've always been really touched by, joy is a strong word, but by the freedom, I guess, is the right word, by the freedom people seem to express around hearing a song like this that acknowledges, yes, that's me, I wasn't there. And I realize that now, God, how do I do better? And how do I incorporate this experience, this brokenness in me, in a way that can be a blessing to other people?
For a man who wasn't there.
Right.
Who wasn't there for a child that is now gone, that didn't get a chance to live. Talk to that man right now.
I want him to know that forgiveness is possible. I want him to know that because of Christ, that God does not look at his sin, and that he has the opportunity to have a life filled with purpose, to be a man of God that leads his family and his church and his community in astounding, incredible ways, precisely because of what he's been through. He understands in a deep, profound way the importance of life, the importance of standing for what is right. And so I think that there's an opportunity for you if you want to take that.
So what have you seen with this project? What are your hopes for the project and that what it would do?
Well, there are a lot of hopes. My first hope is, this issue is so divisive in our culture. And if I can kind of take us on as Christians for a minute, we tend sometimes to get all worked up and wag a lot of fingers and jump up and down and scream and hold signs. And this is just me, Rick. I've always thought, put down the sign and pick up a baby. There are a lot of kids out there that need love that are already here. And I think the heart of Christ is always to love. And I get the protest thing. I'm a child of the 60s. I really do. I was quite the protester, 40 years ago. But I've come to the place where I really feel like our job as Christians is to show Christ's love always, in every situation. And I feel like if this record can help create a dialogue that is a dialogue of love and forgiveness and encouragement, and that can then empower those who've actually lived through this to be the ones who speak into it. Because my experience has been that the ones who've lived it come at the issue with wisdom that those of us who have not do not.
Well, the tendency is to judge. And, it is a terrible thing. I mean, abortion is
no doubt
is terrible, and so I understand the stance of this has to stop. This is evil. This is you're killing human beings. So I mean, I can see that, but someone who has been through it, doesn't approach it from so much of a judgmental standpoint, but from a point of, from the humility. And I think that's what you're talking about.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying if a person who's considering an abortion sits down and talks with somebody who's actually had one, that person can say, I know what you've heard. Let me tell you about my experience. Right. And now there's a chance that abortion actually won't happen. And that's what I hope this record will do, that these songs will plant. First of all, they'll help those who need to forgive them, the forgiveness to receive it. But second of all, to help those who are considering this to rethink it in light of different information. Because we don't get good information from the culture in general on this issue. We just don't. We get a lot of arguments and a lot of heat, but we don't get thoughtful, compassionate, calm wisdom.
And here's how, when I had an abortion, here's how what I've had to struggle with for my entire life. That is a powerful message. That really communicates. Is this something that Christians deal with, or is this basically a non-Christian issue?
Well, one of the most startling things that I discovered when I first began to do the research, because on this project, we spent almost 3 years in research, in discussion with therapists, in discussion with people who've been through the issue. And one of the first talks I had was with a woman who runs an organization called Silent No More, who shared with me that 1/3 of the Christians in the pews have this as their personal story.
1/3?
1/3. And then she shared with me that the average abortion affects 40 lives. And she went down the list, and you start to think, okay, there were grandparents, there were nieces, nephews, cousins, mom and dad, siblings yet to come. I've heard a lot of those stories. Very painful. Not to mention the doctor who performed the abortion, the nurses who were present. There's just this whole host of people whose lives have been impacted by this. And so we don't tend to think about those folks, and we don't give them support in our churches in a visible way, at least not that I've seen in very many instances. I would hope that this project could help normalize, if you will, this discussion, so that anything that's hidden, that's the enemy's playground if it's hidden. We need to bring this out into the light and have discussion about it.
I'm talking with Steve Siler, the founder and director of Music for the Soul. And if this is resonating with you, I encourage you to go to musicforthesoul.org, and you can check out this audio project, Mercy Great Enough, Finding Hope After Abortion.
You're listening to the Rick Altizer Show on Bot Radio, 89.1 FM, 1160 AM, Nashville.
And I want to play another song, Steve.
Sure.
Will you go ahead and introduce this next song for us?
Yes, we were talking earlier about, leading folks into hope and a future. This song is called The Days Still Yet to Come, and it is an invitation to the man who has realized that he made a choice that he wished he hadn't made, and looking forward into his life to come and how that's going to affect the choices he makes moving forward.
I stuff my feelings in a secret place, locked them up and threw away the key, built a barrier inside my heart, and shut out what I didn't want to see. But the truth keeps on dripping like water, and it has an unquenchable thirst. You can't hold it back remorse and regret. I'm unpacking all the guilt and the shame. Silence is no substitute for strength. Yeah, nobody wins when I hold on to pain. It's time to let the light shine in the darkness and speak all the things that I feel. Once I can really be honest, then there is hope I can heal. Yeah, I will tell my story, bring the truth out into the sun. I'll grow and learn, try to be a better man, and let it change the days still yet to come. These words might be what someone else needs. For me, what they mean is, baby, now I can be free. So I will tell my story, even though it's hard to admit. Until I acknowledge what happened, I won't make peace or find forgiveness. I know that I can't change what came before. Yesterday can never be undone, but I'll grow and learn, try and be a better man, and let it change the days still yet to come. No longer will I will honor my child's life, and let it change the days still yet to come, and let it change the days still yet to come.
The day's still yet to come. And Steve, talk to us about where they can find this project, Mercy Great Enough, Finding Hope After Abortion.
It's going to be on our website at musicforthesoul.org. There will be a devoted page to Mercy Great Enough, so they can just click on the album cover and it'll take them there. And when they get there, they'll be able to listen to clips from all the songs. They'll be able to read the lyrics. The album, we're making the full album available, 15 sound files in a download. And with that download, they will also receive a devotional booklet with devotions written by Christian counselors, experts in this field, as well as all of the lyrics. And there are also several resources in the booklet for those who are looking for places to get help. So
excellent. That's at musicforthesoul.org. Mm-hmm. Steve Siler, thank you so much for being with us. For those listening today, this is going to be up on my website. Also, next week, stay tuned. We're going to focus on the women, but this week we kind of wanted to focus on how this issue affected men. And next week is going to be women. So come back with us next week. Steve, look forward to talking to you next week.
Thanks so much, Rick. God bless.
I'd like to thank Steve Siler for being on the show today. Please come back next week where we will continue this discussion about this project, Mercy Great Enough, Finding Hope After Abortion. And you can go on my website, rickaltizer.com, RICKALTIZER.com, and you can hear all the interviews I've done with Steve, as well as many others, like the Kendrick brothers, and Shonda Pierce, and Kevin Sorbo, and Russ Taff, and Mark Lowry. It just goes on. I have, I think, like 40 shows up there. So you can go and check that out, and love to have you come. And also, if you want to go to musicforthesoul.org, you can check out this project. But Steve has many other great projects you might want to check out as well. So thank you so much for listening. Come back next week for part 2 of my interview with Steve Siler. Thanks.
I know